welcome to the Senior Hour, which is sponsored by Providence Holy Cross Medical Center and Comfort Keepers in Home Care. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host
Dr. Thomas Polucki
on the hometown station 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS. This is a show for, about, and by seniors, giving information to enhance one's quality of life. And speaking of quality of life, our first guest this afternoon is Dr. Louie-Marc Contreras, who is Chief of Staff of Henry Mayo Hospital, and we're talking about Doctor's Day.
That's correct. This month on March 30 will be Doctor's Day to honor all the physicians that provide health care and treatments to all patients and the community throughout the world, really. There's many Doctor's Day actually throughout the world, and ours in the United States is March 30.
March 30. So it's celebrated worldwide then.
That's correct. Different days, different nations have different days.
How interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you learn something new every day, don't you?
Yeah, I like the oxygen generator in your water here.
Yes. Yeah.
You're the first guy I've seen come into the studio with that. So
Yes.
that's battery operated, yeah?
Yes, this is I make hydrogen water.
So yeah, hydrogen water. So
What is hydrogen water?
why don't you tell them, Doc?
Hydrogen water, there's still studies going on for it. Hydrogen water is said to have benefits to health in patients or people's well-being.
So where do you get it?
There's several brands for it. You can look online for hydrogen water bottles. There's
So
different kinds.
do you remember, I don't know if you had this in your elementary school or not, but electrolysis, when you put two test tubes in water and bubbles come up on either side, one is going to be the oxygen, one is going to be the hydrogen. Remember that?
Do you realize how old I am?
Yeah, but they had electricity back then, Barb.
Not in England.
Not in England, okay. All right. All right.
They
Well,
named them electricity
I didn't
back
come over
then.
here. I came over here when I was 10 and a half.
Okay.
And I went into the 6th grade here.
Okay. All right. So,
Where'd you,
well, anyway.
where'd you come from?
England.
England.
I was born
Okay.
in London, yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, the oxygen, they selectively just put the charge through so that this gets the hydrogen bubbles infused in the water, and it's supposedly really, really good for you. Hydrogen ion. And you would think that, no, that doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound good because that's typically associated with acid, right? Hydrogen.
Yes, yeah.
Hydrogen ion. But apparently this is really, really good for you. And Doc here brought in a portable unit, which is kind of cool. You just put a little bottle of water in it and push a button and you've got hydrogenated water.
Push the button. There you go.
You're kidding me. You put
Yep.
regular water in
Yep.
there?
Yeah.
See the hydrogen bubbles
Yes.
forming?
Oh, my goodness.
And it's supposed to be really, really good for you. Like Doc said, there's studies out there right now, but apparently there's something to it.
I guess I'm the case study. I'll find out
right?
how good it is.
Well,
right?
here's my water. And it's heavy.
So, Doc, Chief of Staff.
Correct.
Now, you are still a practicing physician.
Yes.
You in the trauma center in ER
At Henry Mayo.
At Henry Mayo.
Yes, yeah.
So, are you in the ER, or they get sent to you from the
Oh,
ER?
they get sent to the ER, and if it's a trauma that requires a traumatologist,
Yeah.
they will be activated as a trauma.
So
and we go there.
anything like head
Yes.
wounds, chest wounds.
correct, yeah.
Anything. You
Blunt.
got to cover everything.
Yes, blunt and penetrating trauma that meets the criteria for life-threatening injuries.
Yeah, that's a lot of ground to cover.
Yes.
Yeah, so you got to be, most surgeons make their living in, 4 square inches, but you got to cover the whole body.
Pretty much, yeah. Yes, for as far as to ensure that the patient survives the initial trauma, then we have subspecialists that will treat certain parts, like say brain. Neurosurgeons will call them fractures, orthopedic surgeons, plastic surgeons if needed. So there's different subspecialties that we call upon, and that's part of a trauma program, having a a network of resources that's designated. In LA County, there's several hospitals, and I believe we're one of 11 in LA County.
Yeah, you got the helicopters.
Yes, yeah.
So I know all the pilots. Like,
Do you really?
they fly right over my, and I mean like right over my house because
Yes.
I'm across the street from
Yeah.
the helipad.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I know 'em. So okay, so it's a lot. First of all, just to be a surgeon that has to cover the entire body when something's wrong with it.
Correct.
But it's a whole nother level being chief of staff. Like that is a big fence to straddle between the patients, the staff, and the administration. It's always gonna. You've got
A lot of balancing
a
involved.
challenging
Yeah.
job there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what does a chief of staff do?
He's
What is
the
your
chief of staff is
responsibility?
responsible, the head of the medical staff leadership. There's a medical executive committee where different chairs of different departments. At Henry Mayo, we have 3 departments: primary care, surgery, and medicine. There's chairs in with that, and also members at large. So there's a whole committee that run the leadership for the medical staff, and I am at the head of that. And
So do you have to chastise doctors at all?
no, I don't chastise doctors. I make suggestions.
Make suggestions. Well, don't you think you should have
I
done it
reason with
this
them.
way
I reason
and
with
maybe
them.
that way?
Reason always goes a long way.
Yeah. And do they ever come back with, well, wait a minute, that's the way I learned it? Do they ever come back
Absolutely.
at you? They do.
Yes, as far as reflecting back on Doctor's Day, Doctor's Day started in 1833.
That long
Yes,
ago?
it was an honor. They chose the date March 30 is because March 30 was the day that they first used general anesthesia in 1842. And so we're talking about the idea that general anesthesia was not even in use at a certain time until 1842. And now they're celebrating that day in 1833 and use that as a launching pad for that. And to answer your question, so if you think about it, there's a progression of medicine. There's traditional medicine and there's always improvements to it. And we're seeing that every day. And so the way to approach it with any physician is like to acknowledge that this is a way it was done at a certain time. There's improvements to it, finessing it a little bit, and then moving on to the future. Because with a change, it's always opportunities and improvement
Right.
of healthcare and well-being for patients overall. Yeah, nothing's
Yeah.
ever static, in my opinion.
Speaking
That's
of
interesting.
the future, I'm not aware of what you have over there in the ER. Thankfully, I haven't been there. Um, do you have one of the robots yet?
Yes, we do. Actually, Henry Mayo has invested highly in the technology in the future of medicine. They have the robotic system that's highly used in multiple facilities throughout the United States. And when we say robot, I just want to clarify that that's not like an autonomous robot.
Yeah,
A lot of people would say that. I think it's more of a misnomer, but it has a technology where there's precision and better visualization when you do operation. And also, it's also good for the surgeons too, because it's using your body. It has its ergonomic benefits too. You're actually sitting on a console using your hands to operate, just your fingers basically, as opposed to standing up, leaning over. You get neck issues, as you probably would know,
Yeah.
neck issues, back issues. Those kind of go away with this, and it allows for a lot of well-being for physicians, and also allow them to practice longer too. I imagine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Benefits for the patients too.
Oh yeah,
Precision.
huge
Yes.
benefits for the patient. It's
Yeah.
like operating through a straw.
Yes.
You've got a couple of puncture wounds, and I mean this about the size of a boba straw.
Mhm.
It's about the size of a boba straw, and they go in and they do major surgery in like a test tube. Like they just go in and
What?
cut the
Yes.
stuff out, pull it out. It's all done, and you've got a couple of holes about that big, about the size of being stuck with a pencil.
And to your point, there are surgeons probably on their way out also that in the traditional way of doing it is to make the big incision. The big incision, and now
Right.
we've pivoted to what we call minimally invasive surgery with the small incisions that will
And
fit like a boba straw, like you
Yeah.
said. And it's the recovery is faster. You go home faster as opposed to being in the hospital for a week or so. You can go home sometimes even the same day now, and the pain is less. It's much better.
And when he says same day surgery, we're not talking about a minimal surgery, like major things like having organs removed through a straw. It's kind of like space age stuff.
how on earth does that happen?
Yeah, it's kind
I
of
mean,
amazing.
It happens when people have the foresight to accept change, like we were
Yeah.
talking about earlier. And that's how I approach physicians. Like with change comes improvement, and we have to accept that,
whether you like it or
whether you
not.
like it or not.
Yeah,
The
but
world
this
spins
Interesting.
always, and it's not going to stop.
this is a major breakthrough as far as I'm concerned in surgery. It's not my field. It's obviously your field, but this is something incredible. Like it looks like a spider. Like there's all these arms that come in from like 3 different angles, and each one of them has a straw. One's like the camera, one's just something to blow up
The
For
inside.
the
yeah, you
inside.
introduce air to it.
Yeah, and the other, and then I think you've got 2 operating devices.
It looks like this, but probably with 4 arms, literally like this, and then and you can see it. You could probably look it up online. Actually,
Yeah,
you'll
yeah.
see it. You'll just see it kind of doing this, but we're controlling it. It's not an autonomous machine at
And the
all.
thing is, that control panel doesn't even have to be on site.
Potentially in the future. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
I
I
mean, it
think that will
could,
be the goal eventually.
yeah, you all you need is this device, and then your surgeon could be in another country.
So what's the point of having a surgeon then?
Well, because they got to know what to do.
Well, the surgeons still run the machine.
They-
They use
They're
it. It's an
doing the
instrument, but they're
operation.
still
It's
doing the
just
operation.
that, yeah, it's just
So
that the
they're
robot
not
is.
the patient is not on the surgery table, and the doctors are not doing this and pulling
Well,
out
it
that.
depends on what position the patient has to
Yeah,
be
they're
in.
still in the same room currently.
Yeah.
They're still in the same room. The patient is on the operating table, and there's a console on the say at the corner of this room, and then we go to that corner and we control the machine at that point.
No.
We also have the ion bronchoscopy system. That's robotic too for pulmonary. That's a great system. What it allows is it allows you to biopsy and detect early cancer that you would not have been able to biopsy with other modalities before. So catching it early also gives the improvement for treatment, complete treatment if you catch it early enough. So that's the advantage of that.
Well, I told you, didn't I? I'm cancer free.
Yeah,
I've beaten it twice.
there you go.
And Dr. Black told me, he said, for your age, you are in very good health.
There you go.
Yes,
Must be doing
yes.
something right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I am. Well, with my son around, he says, Mom, you don't eat this, you don't eat this, you don't eat that. I'm thinking, wait a minute, leave me alone. I'm almost 88 years old, and I've been eating what I wanted to eat all this time. Stop telling me what not to eat. But he's on this, new food kick. But he found out he had a broken collarbone.
Oh,
Oh.
That's what all of his problems were in his rib cage
that'll
and
do
his
it.
speaking.
Yeah.
And the doctors told him he finally went over to Palmdale Hospital.
You know, the crazy thing is the collarbone is the only bony attachment of your arm to the rest of your skeleton.
Well, he was always having his arm in a sling.
Yeah.
And so that's what they did. They made it a permanent sling. So
Oh, wow.
there's not much
Okay.
he can do about it until he has to go in, I think, in another 3 weeks and have them check it over. But it was a broken collarbone.
Yep.
Wow.
And
Happens
my
frequently.
daughter and I kept telling him, go to the doctor, find out what's wrong. Well, he's never been a doctor person, I know, I'll heal myself, as I always have, he says. But this time he said, no, he said, I finally decided, yes, I need to go do something about it. And
Yeah.
he
The
did.
problem with letting bones heal on their own is they will. They absolutely will, but it's
But you
usually
never know.
not good.
That's right. You
And
never know what it's going to affect.
yeah, and it might take more to fix it later.
It's not directed in the
Yeah.
way it's supposed to heal. Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad he told me, Mom, he said, from now on, I will go see a doctor. I said, thank goodness. Because I said, I'm not going to be around as long as you are to keep bugging you about it. And he said, I know, I know.
All right. So speaking about going to see a doctor, Doc,
Well, first thing,
yeah.
doctors are your friends. I just want to
yes.
emphasize that.
Yes.
Tell us about this upcoming event, March 30th.
March 30th is
What, where, when, how?
nationwide celebration of doctors to appreciate what they do. And there's been, especially in the United States, a lot of leadership globally in healthcare. And just since you're from England, I want to give a bit of history. The first American female doctor who received a medical degree came from England when she was 11.
Really?
Elizabeth Blackwell.
Oh, my goodness. Well, the British rule.
There you go.
And she got into, this is more like trivia, she got into medical school as the male counterparts did it as a joke to say, let's see how long she lasts. She ended up graduating first in her class.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, that's always a mistake.
Yeah.
Let's do this as a joke.
Yeah.
We'll show her.
But it certainly has opened doors and widened the medical field from her, her ability to, be in that situation. I don't think many of us understand those kind of situations that are where everyone's against you. We kind of feel it right now in medicine here and there, but not as bad. You know what I mean?
Well, look at all the British monarchy now having all of these medical problems. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It really is.
Well, there's something to diversification of your genetic code.
Say that again.
I'm saying that it's not a gene pool. You got a gene puddle over there in the monarchy.
Oh, yes, that's very true. There is a big puddle over there.
So there's some issues with that.
Or we hear about it more
Yeah.
because there's social media now. They
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
had it all along, and now we're hearing it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And watch The Crown.
Yes.
Well, I've never watched that show, ever.
Good. It's good. You
Never
find out all
watched
the
it.
dirty little secrets.
Oh, well, my dad was involved with them for many, many years.
Yes.
Many, many years.
So her dad was King Edward
King Edward's personal
valet.
Wow.
So Edward was the guy who abdicated.
He abdicated the throne. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
For the
That's
American
when
woman.
my father lost his
Ooh.
job.
Yeah. Crazy, huh?
Yeah.
But
Amazing.
it opened the door for Queen Elizabeth, yes. So
Oh,
it was
absolutely.
probably all for the best,
Yes.
I think.
Yes. And she turned around as a princess and says, well, hello. I actually met her.
Did you
when
really?
She was
Wow.
when she was
Okay.
a teenager.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah, because my dad took me in there.
Mm-hmm.
I must have been, 4 or 5 years old, something like that. Long, long time ago. But I'll never forget it. It's something that has stuck with me. I mean, she turned around after my dad took her in there, and she looked at me and she said, well, hello.
All right, Doc. Final wrap up.
Sure.
The details on the event that you're here promoting.
Doctor's Day is the event. It's March 30 for the public out there, just in general. Just take a moment to appreciate all doctors, especially from the hospital I'm associated with, Henry Mayo Hospital, which is transforming, as you mentioned, robotic surgery, the future of surgery, and just overall great care that's coming on board throughout the community and serving our community, especially with trauma patients. I'm biased in that. And
Will there be a function at the hospital?
there'll be a function mainly for the physicians to honor the
Oh,
physicians.
I see.
But for the public, when you see your physician, just say thank you. It goes a long way, feeling appreciated. especially in the climate of the physicians are going through with lowering reimbursements, government interference, insurance
Oh,
interference,
it's
and
a
all
mess.
that. It makes it difficult, and there's a burnout rate issue that we're dealing with, and just gratitude goes a long way. And we have Donut Day, so why not have a Doctor's Day,
Well, that's right.
Thank you
Wow.
so much
Thank you for having
your
me.
time, your valuable time. I
Thank you.
appreciate all that you do.
Thank you.
You so much. I'm not going to wait till the end of the month to say that.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
And you've been listening to the Senior Hour, KHTS FM 98.1 AM 1220, hometownstation.com.
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Thomas Polucki, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220, KHTS. And our guest this afternoon for the second half is Pastor Jerry Cook from Freedom's Way Baptist Church.
Which is not in Agua Dulce.
It's not in Dulce. It's in Santa Clarita.
It is. 22
Yes.
years last Sunday.
22 years.
Indeed. I'm almost a senior.
Almost.
If we count my age and add the 22 years, I would be.
So you've
I
been-
could go to Denny's and get one of those 55 and over menus.
But have you been at the church for 22 years?
I have been the senior pastor for 22 years.
Doesn't that make you feel older?
No.
Not old,
I know
just
some people
older.
who inject things into my face and keep me looking tight,
Whatever it takes.
I guess.
There's no judgment here.
22 years.
22 years.
That's amazing.
My wife and I were very youthful when we started the work. And when I say work, I'm talking about the ministry, of course.
Right.
And so we started in a community center in Valencia and then moved to two different locations over that time. And now we're in Castaic.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Like,
But I thought you said Santa Clarita.
like
Well,
almost,
I like to say Santa Clarita better than Castaic. Who wants to
Castaic.
talk about a truck stop?
the place looks almost like a Norman Rockwell painting. You know, you drive up on this nice green
Oh, it's
landscape
beautiful.
and this big white chapel. It's beautiful.
You know what I
is.
like
It's
about it is the
absolutely
fact that
beautiful.
there's nothing behind us other than, of course, a mile up, there's the Castaic High School. But there's basically just hillsides behind us.
Yes.
And if we get there early enough in the morning before all the traffic starts, you know, there's some deer that'll come across the road there, and there's quail. You know, the wildlife is all through there.
Yeah.
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Considering that I'm a hunter. However, it
A
does
hunter of what?
it does pose a bit of a temptation when I see those deer.
Yeah.
But I'm
You
not
don't.
supposed to shoot them.
I would hope not.
I won't. Because
Have you ever?
not behind the church, but I have shot some deer before. Yes.
Not during a mass.
Yeah, not during a service. That would be a mess. So
Excuse me.
exactly. Yeah.
Can you
Exactly.
imagine that? Here, hang on. I see one out there. I'll be back in a minute.
Actually, the irony of that, Barbara and Dr. Polucki, is a few weeks ago, I was preaching, and we, as you guys remember, there's a big window behind the pulpit. It's just
Yes.
huge. It's the one.
Yes.
The whole wall is a window, and some folks were pointing in the front row behind me, and I thought somebody was doing something strange behind me, and a group of deer came across the parking lot.
Oh, you're
And
kidding.
it completely stopped the sermon for a few minutes, and I
Oh,
had to
my goodness.
crack a
what
few
s-
Bambi jokes. But
What a sight that must have been.
yeah, it was great. It was great. It was one of those things where you couldn't have planned it any better.
No, absolutely not. And how often do you see something like that?
Well, believe it or not, in that area, relatively often. You know,
You do?
probably once every couple of months. And if you travel up that road past the church up towards the high school, especially on the weekends, you'll see deer coming across the road because that's their natural area,
yeah,
and we're the ones encroaching on them. So,
that's very true.
and
Very
if
true.
they want to defecate on my parking lot, it's okay.
Well, it's interesting because I was at a meeting over at the senior center yesterday, and we were talking about animals and what have you, and coyotes come running up and down the street I live on.
Well, considering how long have you
I
lived here,
mean-
Dr. Polucki, in Santa Clarita?
about 20 years.
Okay, and
I
you've
lived here
lived here.
since '68.
Okay, so then you guys remember, and more so you, Barbara. I mean, this was a valley that was nothing but onion fields, and
Oh yes, I used to
And-
get on the motorcycle and drive. Kids would say, "Come on, Mom, you can make it."
Yeah.
That was before the freeway was even thought about.
I
There
don't
was
know
a
if
great
you.
big hill, and I was on the motorcycle, and I never would go up there because it was too steep.
Barbara, were you on a motorcycle going up a hill?
Up
But-
a very steep.
But it was a
hill.
few years ago.
It was quite a few years
Oh, okay.
ago. Yes, it was.
Yeah, she did. You had a Harley, right? You used to do
No.
road trips, no?
Oh well, Russ had a Honda 1000,
Okay.
and I had a Honda 750,
Okay.
and we traveled all over the United States.
So right now, my wife is watching reruns of Chips,
There you go.
the old
Oh my goodness!
television show from the late '70s, early '80s. And what's interesting about that show?
She's a Ponch fan. isn't
She's
she?
completely, of course. Why not? I think I am too. But my 9-year-old daughter and my 12-year-old son are starting to kind of get into the show. And what's interesting is, in the late '70s, the 210 didn't extend past Glendale.
Right.
You know, it kind of stopped there, right around, right below the Verdugo Hills, and a lot of the filming for Chips was on that 210 piece
Yeah.
of the freeway. And then portions of Santa Clarita, we saw a show this morning where it's at Lyons Avenue. I'm like, there, and it looks so desolate compared to today, you know. But that was 1978.
Yeah,
you
I
know.
was watching a murder mystery. I can't remember what the name of it was now, but the whole of Main Street was on the show.
Was on the show.
And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I know where that is. And it looks just like it does today, you know?
Well, it was probably filmed last week.
Yes, yes.
Well, you
was
know,
filmed a couple
I
of months
guess
ago.
the benefits and the negatives.
NCIS.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
what
that,
it
They
was.
film
they
here
film
all the time.
All the time, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess the benefits and the negative of living in Santa Clarita, Acton, Agua Dulce, is you're watching old movies or current TV shows, and they're trying to convince you this is Virginia.
Right.
When you're like, no, that's Placerita Canyon Preserve, man. I know exactly where that is, you know. So
Oh, that's Main Street.
yeah.
Yes.
Then I was watching some old John Wayne movies with, no, not John Wayne, Roy Rogers, Gabby Hayes, all
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And they were filming up by Vasquez Rocks, and this was in the 1940s. So,
Oh, good heavens.
so much has
Everybody
been
loves
filmed
that.
there.
Everybody loves that.
Yeah,
location.
everybody has been.
Sci-fi. It's always some.
Star Trek, Flintstones,
Yep.
Blazing Saddles.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Politically incorrect. We can't talk about that.
All right, what do you want to talk about?
I don't know. But, well, we can talk about Vasquez Rocks, considering that they have a outdoor Easter service
Ooh.
there every year.
Yes, they do every year.
And it's
Yeah.
a beautiful. I've never been to it. I know some people who have, and I guess it's a sunrise service because obviously, if you just face a certain direction, there, of course, the sun rises in the east. Of course, we have Easter services coming up, and as we were kind of joking, Easter falls the end of this month, as opposed to April.
That's amazing to me. It changes every year.
Yeah.
It has something to do with the Hebrew calendar in the Old Testament,
Yeah.
with
Switching.
Moses and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Switching between a lunar calendar and a solar calendar.
Precisely. And so I'll give you a real funny story about this, guys. I got married April 22nd, 2000, and it was the day before Easter Sunday. That year, Easter Sunday was April 23rd. All right? Well, I must have had a brain freeze at the moment because I kept saying to people, I'll never forget my wedding anniversary because it's going to be the day before Easter. And then 5 years later, somebody calls me in March and says, hey, your anniversary is 1 month earlier this year. And I'm like, yeah, shut up. Anyway, but anyway, that was a few years ago, and I'd put a little more study into why it moves. So anyway,
Yeah.
Well,
All
I
right.
was so annoyed with the time change again. I thought they were going to do away with that.
we did vote on that.
we did vote on
But-
that,
but it
and
never
they
went
totally
through.
ignored it because I thought it was going to go through like last year.
That sounds like elected magistrates,
Yeah.
the voice of the people say something and then they just completely reject it.
Ignore it. Ignore
Yeah.
it. Totally ignore it.
I will say this about the time change. I do think they should keep it. Obviously, I don't like falling back and springing forward. But I like the longer days, obviously.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
there's more things to do with my kids in the evening, and we have horses, and so we do things with our horses. And like last night was a practice night for one of my kids for softball, and so it was just nice to be able to extend our evening past 6 o'clock.
I know. I know. I wish they would leave it like that.
Would be nice.
Yeah,
Right?
well, you can't leave it like that. If we just stayed on one thing, the time when it gets dark would change automatically. They're trying to cheat the day
I know.
a little bit on either side of it.
And I wish
The
they would
problem-
stop doing that.
Exactly. A lot of people feel that same way too, and there's some research to support it, and that's what I thought we had decided, that we were going to stop it
I know.
because people get messed up. They are in more car accidents. They have more health issues because they're trying to catch up or whatever from
That's right.
to make up that hour.
And I understand originally it was for the farmers. That's what I'd heard.
That's what they say, but how many of us are actually farmers now? So now they're saying that
I'm
it's
not.
yeah, exactly. So now they're saying that it's for people in the more northern states,
Mhm.
like they're affected even more dramatically. Like it gets pitch black dark at 4 p.m. in the middle of winter there.
I can't
does.
imagine that. I wouldn't live there.
Yeah.
However, I don't like the fact that it's darker longer in the mornings.
Yeah.
I do like, a week ago, and 6 a.m. was sunrise,
Right.
and you can go out in the property and do something. Whereas now I got to wait till almost 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
So kind of boring
I
like
guess
that.
there are good things and bad things about it.
They should just-
but they
they
need
should
to
just-
leave it one way or the other and stop changing it.
I get it. So what's new with you, Dr. Polucki?
Everything's always new and exciting.
What's some new health things that I need to know for myself so I can prolong my Baptist life?
Everything old is new again. So the basis of this is, there's like this old joke about here, take this herb, it will heal you. And then it switches to here, take this pill, it will heal you. Then it's, take this yada, yada, yada. And then it comes back around to here, take this herb, it will heal you. Like it's just a matter of time before you're back to where you started.
Yeah.
Human physiology is not changing that fast, but the world around us sure is. So there are certain things that you do have to modify in your life if you want to stay ahead of the game. It is best to eat the way that your grandparents ate. Because here's the thing. It was before all this craziness of, just pop a bag in the microwave and you've got a meal 30 seconds later. Obviously, convenience goes a long way.
Sure.
But what are the sacrifices? Well, the sacrifices are a lot of people are sick
Yeah.
a lot of the time. And so our answer to that is, well, let's just take a pill for
Yeah.
that. And that gets us in this whole downward spiral of where we're currently at. And like I said, if you stick around long enough, all the recommendations come back to the basics. Let's do as much of our real world existence like our grandparents. Now, I'm not saying, oh, computers are evil or cell phones are evil.
I was going to say, you sound like a Baptist preacher all of a sudden.
Yeah, right?
You want to go that far.
You need this technology, but you need to know its value and the cost of it. And when I say the cost of it, not that one of those things costs $1,000 now, a phone. And, phones used to be free, right?
And they used to be rotary.
Yeah. So what I'm talking about is spending all day like this. I'm
Yeah.
now seeing children, grade school children, come in with arthritis in their
I
neck.
completely agree.
Something that you didn't used to see until your 40s or your 50s in most
Yes.
adults. I'm now seeing it in grade school children
Wow.
because they spend all day in this position.
Yeah.
So that's a limitation. And I'm not saying, oh, don't give your kids cell phones. They shouldn't have cell phones. I'm not judging. I'm just saying, if you're going to give your kid a cell phone, make sure that they do this instead.
Yeah.
Let their arm get tired.
Yeah, instead of down here.
Yeah.
Well, that's when you see people walking along the street. I'm surprised. Yeah, see, he's got it. He's got it in his hand. But they do. They're walking.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking.
Everybody's got their heads down.
Yes.
And there's an overwhelming amount of research showing how horribly bad that is for us. But
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Some people will have their head down so much that they don't see the car that is coming across the
That's very true.
across the lane, and they get
That's
hit or
very
something
true.
like that.
Yeah.
Very true.
That's not a good thing. So
Yeah.
No, that's
just keep your phone down, Barbara.
I don't use my phone when I walk around. It stays in there or
Well.
it stays in the house. When
Well,
I'm
okay.
sitting down is when I'll use it. I don't walk around the house using the cell phone.
Well, good for
Too
you.
dangerous for me.
I think we should bring back rotary phones
Well,
and put them on a wall with a long extension.
then I'd trip over the wire.
I don't know about that. I do know that it would decrease some electromagnetic exposure. Like you're sticking basically a pretty strong receiver transmitter right next to your head, which I don't think is such a great idea, but you can use speakerphone whenever it's appropriate. We'll have more debate and discussion on that when we get back from our break. You're listening to the Senior Hour, KHTS FM 98.1 AM 1220
I'm
HometownStation.com.
Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Thomas Polucki, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS. And we're speaking with Pastor Jerry Cook, Freedom's Way Baptist Church.
Which is still not located in Agua Dulce.
No, it
No.
isn't. It's in Santa Clarita.
It is in
Yes,
Santa Clarita.
yes. You're funny.
Well, we were talking about 1954 during the break.
Yes.
What was the popular song in Barbara's life in 1954?
I could not tell you.
Oh,
Barbara
1954.
couldn't also tell us.
That's a long time ago.
yeah, but that was when you graduated high school. You had to have a favorite song. What was the song at the dance?
I don't even remember that. But see,
Well.
as you get older, your mind kind of goes bye-bye.
No, I
See you
understand
later,
that, but certain
alligator.
things kind of stick, right? No, I guess not.
Maybe not. How about you, Dr. Polucki? When you graduated high school?
85.
All right, let's talk about.
I was heavy into metal, but at that stage, because that's what you did back then.
1985.
Yeah, 85. So your
It was-
sister was kind of twisted.
Yeah,
And that kind of stuff.
I knew those guys.
Did you really?
Yeah, I really did.
Oh, wow. That's cool. My brother, I have two brothers. I have an older brother who's 63 and a middle brother who's 60. They actually went to high school with all the guys in the Motley Crue band.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to suggest that Motley. Actually, we could talk about Motley Crue. That would be part of the senior hour because they're all seniors now.
Yep. Especially Mick, the guitar player.
Clearly.
He's quite a bit older than the
Yes.
rest of them.
And they're only just a generation behind Rolling Stones. So, but at that time they were called. I think they were called Hard Candy before they officially became Motley Crue. But yeah, used to know those guys sitting in our garage there in the Downey area, and just knew those guys before they became a big hit. I know that Motley Crue doesn't make a big dent in the world of Barbara Cochran, does it?
What, Motley Crue?
It's like Benny Hill. Same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Whatever Benny Hill is. I can't worry about things years and years ago.
Right.
What happened,
Exactly.
happened.
Absolutely.
The
There
only
you
thing-
go.
I mean, I'm writing my autobiography, and when I write something down, then, that reminds me of something else, so I have to go back and put it back in. But it's very interesting. There's a lot of things that I'm remembering.
Wasn't there smoking in the boys' room back in your day?
Smoking in the boys' room?
Yes.
There was smoking in the girls' room, too. Oh, yes.
Here's
I
how
used to hate
crazy it
that.
was. In my high school, there was actually a student smoking lounge. It was like,
Yeah.
it wasn't, you didn't have to sneak smoking. Like it was out in the open. So
And we attended restaurants where
Yeah.
there was a smoking section, right?
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah.
Now it's like so foreign. My kids, if they walked into a place where there was smoking, they'd be like, "What are they doing, Dad?"
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
which is actually is a good thing for us.
it is really good. It is really good.
Yeah.
I had a weird experience in France. Like they still smoke like chimneys
Oh,
over
yeah.
there.
Europe.
You go to a very nice little bistro and you're just like, it seems like a rock concert.
It's like L.A. in 1975. Yeah.
All right, so real quick, what's happening Easter Sunday at the church?
For those who don't have a traditional Easter service to attend, Freedom's Way Baptist Church will have a traditional Easter service 9:15 and 10:30 a.m. on Easter Sunday, which is March 31st, just a couple weeks away.
March.
Awesome.
Love to invite folks to come out to that. Again, just a traditional Easter service. Hopefully that'll be something you enjoy.
How do people get in touch with you?
Freedom's Way Baptist Church.org.
Thank you so much, Pastor Jerry. You're listening to the Senior Hour, KHTS, FM 98.1, AM 1220, hometownstation.com, brought to you by Comfort Keepers and Providence Holy Cross. Now go out and enhance your quality of life.